no Democrats supported Trump's tax cuts, including, believe it or not, Senator Joe Manchin, who supported the Democrats on opposing Donald Trump's tax cut. But after all is said and done, it seems like the Democrats are still having a hard time getting it done with the tax increase as they control both the White House, the House, and the Senate. Now, why is that? Some people argue that Joe Manchin and Sinema are funded by the big paying lobbyists. That's what the progressives say, that they're bought and paid for by the corporations. Well, that can't necessarily be true because if you look at liberals and progressives like Bernie Sanders and others, and Elizabeth Warren, they are well funded by progressive interest groups, and they have some of the most bold and aggressive tax policies in the country in their United States Senate. Some people believe that Manchin, and I know him from West Virginia, just believes in lower taxes. He thinks it stimulates the economy and that it's good to have balance in our economic strategy. But at the end of the day, I think that what we have to look at is the Democrats and Republicans have to come together and decide. Well, actually, the Democrats in their party, moderates and progressives, have to come together and say if they want to increase taxes, this is their opportunity to do it. My final take is this: I think the most important thing the Democrats can do, they just need to win more elections. They got to win more elections in these rural areas of the country where there are Democrats who favor tax increases. In fact, I've researched some data that 80% of Americans favor tax increases on the rich to help the people that are being downtrodden in the United States economy. But when they go to these areas in the rural areas of the country, many of their Democratic colleagues still tend to vote Republican. That's how Trump won in 2016. Biden was able to turn the tables, but now I think the president has to get aggressive with his Democrats if they want to do it. Or are we just seeing more lip service and we're not going to see a major tax increase? Only time will tell, but in the few minutes I'm with you all today, I'm going to bring in Mark Lee, Shaquille Latimer from Down Under, Nick Paladiva, who may join us, and Sasha Starr, if he's here. I mentioned everybody in case. There he is.
Yeah.
The famous Sasha Starr from Chess Stars and Economics Monday. And I'm going to be with you for about 12 minutes today, guys, but we're waiting for Shaquille. But first of all, let me go to Sasha Starr first because he tends to talk more about economics. What does increasing tax? Okay, the Republicans say that reducing taxes stimulates economic growth. Um, do you agree with that, or do you agree that taxing the rich and wealthy and redistributing it is a way to get those people that are not doing well in our economy to rise up to a higher standard of living?
You should know that in investments, there is no strategy that works always 100% of the time. Certain strategies are very successful at some times, and they could be disastrous in some other times. So, for example, the decrease of taxes, which was done at the time of Ronald Reagan, was highly successful and worked its way all the way to through economic system. Now, today, tax increases for the rich. I think, generally speaking, it's a healthy idea because it makes most of the people feel good because only rich people will pay more taxes. We are not going to pay more taxes, and so therefore we would participate in a windfall from the taxes, extra taxes paid by rich. I don't think that it will actually happen that way because the more taxes you will collect, even more money you will spend on various projects. So what that means? Sorry, did you say something?
No.
No. Okay. So what's really happening is
Yeah, that might be me. Hold on a second. I'm trying to get some information. Go ahead, Sasha. Sorry.
okay.
Sorry, Sasha.
Yeah, that's okay. So what's happening here is that yes, you will collect more taxes. So socially, it will be very very popular move. Now, realistically speaking, I don't think that any people, including poor people or disadvantaged people, will get any benefits of it all because of all these taxes collected. All and more than that will be spent on various projects, even social projects, if you will. There is no positive effect whatsoever.
Nick Paladiva, what are your thoughts on this issue? Thank you, Sasha.
Welcome.
Well, I mean, politically, it always sounds good. Let's tax the rich and redistribute the poor, and life will be better. In a practical matter, that's not going to work. Now, do I agree on increasing the taxes for the upper 1%? Absolutely. Only because of since the Reagan administration, they've gotten away with economic murder when it comes to being able to scale up where other people are unable to do that. Now the real question is, okay, let's say you did do that. In other words, like the federal estate tax, Steve. I used to work in that area. It only affected the top 1%. And then they just said, let's eliminate that. It's too burdensome for them. As I brought my violins out, oh, the poor billionaire class, in the meantime, you got all these millions of people working to the bone and not going anywhere in society. So let's say you did put that tax back, which is good. Then now the real question is, what are you going to do with those funds? Okay, if you just take it and give it to people, that probably won't work. You need to give it to them with instructions. In other words, how are you going to invest it wisely? This is where Sasha's show comes into play. And Sasha, I'm really sad that we also don't have a real estate show also like this, because over 37 years of practicing law, a lot of people I meet made a lot of money in real estate.
Absolutely.
They don't teach you how to do it anywhere in our educational system. Okay. I learned it because that's what the people I worked with for 37 years. But in our educational system is a complete failure, Steve. Complete failure. So what happens if you said, okay, we're going to increase tax to rich to provide these important financial, educational tools to the poor, then I'm all in. I'm all for it, because the thing is, then you're going to see a benefit from that, because then they start learning about international trade. They start learning about investing in real estate. They start learning about investing in stocks. They start learning about why credit card debt is bad. They start learning about why going to that stupid school that they chose and paying huge amounts of student loans for a subpar education in a major that will get you no job is a bad idea. Then I'm all for it. And I believe you can actually get the rich people to say, yeah, that's actually a great idea. But what they're going to do is let's say, oh, I'm going to just pay taxes and just hand out the money. Okay, that's not going to work. You're going to have like Venezuela. And that's the Democratic Party, which I oppose. Okay, even though I'm a member of it. And I tell them that too. I go, look, I don't agree with all your policies. Oh, well, if you don't agree with us, you're a revolutionary. No. You got to really reassess what you guys are doing on that side of the equation. Just like I don't agree with the Republican Party. Let's give all these benefits to the rich and ignore the poor. Okay,
but however,
the middle party work.
I want to mention something. What you just said, when you're talking about the Republican Party, let's say you agree with them or you disagree with them. That's fine, but at least it makes a lot of sense either way. Now, with Democratic Party, you have to always specify which part of the Democratic Party you agree or disagree, because there are at least three.
There's three Democratic
very
parties.
Distinct
I know.
part of Democratic parties.
Oh, I totally agree. There's
very specific.
Yeah, you actually have today some of these people that are just blatant crazy on, well, if I pull a lot of money from Joe, let's say I took all the money away from Jeff Bezos and I handed it out to 5,000 poor people, that everybody's life is going to be better. And that's just absolutely not true. It happened in Venezuela. Like I said, if you said, well, I'm going to take money from Jeff Bezos and we're going to invest in the education of these people to be able to how to invest the money wisely and become entrepreneurs, to become business people, et cetera, then I would say that program is probably going to work. It has a high probability of success. And this is where I really differ from that liberal wing, I guess they have right now, the Bernie Sanders of the Democratic Party. He's out of his cocked mind. But the good news about guys like Bernie Sanders, let's think about Bernie and think about these wild-eyed liberals. It's easy to sell. Oh, we're going to tax the rich and hand money to you, and life's going to be better. Or family medical leave. Oh, everybody gets free education. Everybody gets free this, free that. That's easy to sell. They don't ever want to get into the hard part of actually working. And in other words, how are we going to actually make this successful? And they tend to ignore it, and it just drives me nuts. But that would create a conversation more than 2 seconds on a media blitz. So the thing is, they don't even get involved in it.
I think so. It would be very easy and fair to divide American into ultra rich, extremely rich,
Right.
But
just rich people, almost rich, upper middle class,
Yeah, sure.
and it's one group. Now,
so I think
all the
let
rest,
me give
it's another group.
my
Tax the first group, expropriate as much money as you can from the first group, and divide it to all members of the second group. That would be a very technological,
Yeah, but
fair revolution.
yeah, but see, reallocating assets without instructions just isn't going to work. I mean, because the thing is, and it happens even with wealthy people. They're the ones I've worked with for 37 years, especially with their children, Sasha. They're concerned, and they have a serious concern. I'm just going to hand my kid $1 million or $10 million, and they have no clue what to do with it. Okay,
Right.
the bread earner actually invested heavily in real estate, worked it real hard, or worked their business hard, and they start accumulating assets. And all of a sudden, they have 10 million. The reason we set up a lot of trust for these people is because they were right. They had no clue what to do with it. In other words, handing somebody 10 million, we're just going to do it and say, "Here's your 10 million." The first thing they're going to do is, "Wow, I guess I should go buy a big house." Or how about these expensive cars? In other words, it's always, I'm going to buy junk that's going to depreciate rapidly and then be broke actually. And this happens all the time, by the way, Sasha. And I'll be broke in a matter of 3 years. And they've even done studies on it. If you did stuff like that, they'll be broke in 3 years. What the Democratic Party is asking the United States to do is to tax the rich, so we'll be broke in 3 years. Because remember, they did not put instructions with the money. Now, if you said, well, here's what we're going to do. Provide education, to these people, because now you're going to buy stocks like what you do, Sasha. Show them what the difference is: a put and a call, a short sell, or a forward strategy. And watch. I will bet you right now, Steve, if you go to your teachers in Morrisville and you ask them about the Forex, none would have a clue what you're talking about. They go, but I can teach a little bit about English, or I can teach about whatever. Okay. But do you know anything about the Forex? What's that? And part of the reason why our education system is so poor, not even ranked in the top 25 anymore, is because the teachers learn from other teachers who learn from other teachers, but learn in the 1800s. So we have an 1800th century. Well, I know how we'll get out. We'll pay our teachers more. No, that's not going to work. Now you got a person who knows nothing about finances, who now getting paid 30,000 is paid 100,000, let's say, to teach English 101. It's completely garbage, and this is what you have in the United States.
So I think, yeah, absolutely. Well, real quickly, I've got a few more minutes before we move to one or two other issues. But here's the thing. I think, and this is my opinion as a commentator, I think that the Democrats would be better off, instead of just coming and saying, I'm going to tax the rich. You got to get back to the economic argument of why a rising middle class is better for the economy, right? When my parents came from India, India had no middle class. Now, India before COVID was doing a lot better. Now it's starting to come back, but there were 400 million middle class in India, or more than the size of America. There's still a lot of poverty, but this is, people were able to buy cars, they're able to buy homes, they're able to do that, and then they're able to redistribute that wealth and spend more on the economy and consumer spending, right? Huge market for even entrepreneurs that are going after the China-India market. Now, I have a friend, Suresh Shanmugam, who I grew up with, who's actually a venture capitalist, and he's investing in early stage companies in South Asia because of the market potential, right? But I think you have to get back to the economics argument. That's the question. Is
Sure.
When the Republicans were reducing taxes under the Reagan administration, trickle down, was the economy doing better, or did the economy get better when we? Then again, Bill, that's where it gets confusing, because Clinton came in after Bush and did work to lower the tax rates and deregulate and do all these corporate friendly democratic policies. That's how I opened up my monologue.
Yeah.
And is it so anyway, the point is the Democrats need to get back to talking economic policy rather than saying I just want to tax, tax the rich.
Right. Yeah, tax and spend, it doesn't work. But something you just brought in your monologue, which is pretty important, is cars and houses. Okay, we're going to talk about that in just a moment because you brought that up. Okay, what is the most optimal way to purchase a car, and what type of car should you purchase? Okay, did you take, when you were in high school, the strategies in purchasing automobiles? No, why not? It's the second largest asset most people have, and you never took a class in it. Well, Steve, you wasted your time if you never took a class in how to buy an automobile properly. What about housing? You're going to purchase a house. Like in my community, I'm looking around. I go, hey, no one can afford to live here. The downstroke is like 80 grand. Most people have $400. You know, they don't have 80,000 to spend on a $500,000 home. So, you know, they can't purchase it. Did you take a class in high school about purchasing the most important financial asset in your career, a house? Did you ever take a class? Did anybody here on the panel take a class?
There was that's an interesting point, and I got to be honest with you. My life gets so absorbed in my job and then politics and all this media stuff that
that's today. I'm talking about your high school career.
But traditionally in my life, I tell you, I have not spent enough time, and my father beats me up about this on the basic finances. And I think that if I would have benefited, I would have significantly benefited.
Absolutely.
If I had classes like that in high school. And I married a woman that's a financial genius.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife, who I've known since I was 18, so I'm spoiled. Because
you're blessed, so feel good about that.
Yeah, I'm blessed, but she's always taking care of the finances, even before we got married. When she was my girlfriend, she managed everything for me. And so the thing is that.
But your high school did not teach.
No, the high schools didn't teach anything.
Okay, let me ask you this. Mark, you went to school in Durham. Did you take a class in real estate investing?
No,
and did you take a class in purchasing a home?
No, there was nothing like that. And actually,
nothing like that. Then you wasted your time in high school. Why'd you even bother to go? That's the most important financial asset.
I agree that they should have done a lot more courses in the home, even in
home
economics and a number of other things. So I do agree with you on that. But I did have a question based on what y'all were talking about with the housing and everything to kind of get back on some topics that are going on and everything. Because one of the things that's happening that I'm not that big a fan of, and it's actually impacting me directly and everything, is the fact that in the middle of the pandemic, there a lot of people were getting breaks of different sorts and everything. And now that we're slowly sliding out of the pandemic, there is apparently a new crisis that is going on. And that's the fact that a lot of landlords are, and knowing that their folks have not recovered, are also jacking up their prices, and they've definitely been doing that across the country. As a matter of fact, they said the national median rent has increased by 11.4% so far in 2021 compared to just 3.3% for the first 6 months of 2017, 2018, and 2019, according to a report recently put out by the Apartment List, which is a retail listing site. So average rent growth this year is outpacing pre-pandemic levels in 98 of the nation's 100 largest cities. And I've heard of some crazy figures. I was talking to somebody, I think it might have been one of the bus drivers downtown and everything. And they were telling me that somebody in Miami, given it was a beach property, but they were paying $3,000 for one bedroom. And I talked to somebody else in New York that was paying like some crazy costs like that as well. So, and some of these are going up exponentially because the landlords are saying, hey, look, we haven't been collecting money, so now we gotta try to collect even more money than we had lost and everything. So I was just wondering what your thoughts are about that, because definitely we are seeing, I understand from the landlord standpoint that you want people to catch up on their rent, but there are a number of these complexes around here, even in the Triangle, that are going into some very high spheres in terms of their rent rates.
I've got to run, guys, but I'm going to close out with just a couple topics. I will hopefully be at PBS Carolina tomorrow. I apologize again. A quick thing before I do my closeout. A couple things to talk about today is that President Biden and Xi Jinping are going to be the Prime Minister of China are doing a virtual summit. That's interesting. Los Angeles passed a law that they're going to require masks to be and vaccinations to go into restaurants, gyms, all of that stuff, which is interesting. Don't know if that's a precedent. And there is a U.S. India Business Council meeting today. I'll try to share that with everyone. But I have the recordings, and we might bring the guests of that show to talk about the U.S. India relationship. My final take is this. Interestingly enough, Senator Mitch McConnell has agreed now to allow the debt ceiling to be extended until December. And some people say this was after President Biden met with business leaders who said that if we defaulted, it would hurt the economy. But I believe that this was a political move because now he can say that I told you so. Look, they're fiscally irresponsible. So this is, we got chess stars, the chess master Sasha Starr with us. It's chess, right? The game of chess. And McConnell's playing his hand, and only time will tell. So it looks like the 2022 elections have begun. But I'll be back tomorrow from PBS Studios to talk about the week. Thank you all so much.
No
I'm
problem.
wondering actually, what are the chess skills of McConnell and all the politicians? What
They don't.
level?
Yeah, they're not.
level?
It's just an analogy. When
Poor.
they're not chess
Mhm.
players, but it's a calculated game where you have to look at your moves and things. And so I don't believe that Senator Mitch McConnell is going to do anything because he believes, yeah, this is great. There's got to be a reason why he supported the president on this, and we know what that is. He's going to come back in time to fiscal irresponsibility and use it in
Yeah,
the
that
campaign.
that really helps the economy. I mean, is to sit and jab each other. That's
I know.
you
I
know.
know.
That's
Guys,
the
thank
reason.
you.
Like,
We missed Shakir. Hopefully, we'll have
All
him
right.
back tomorrow. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank
all
you.
right, we'll see you, Steve. All right, bye bye.
So, what is your thoughts about what I just brought up, which is this whole concept of rents going up, and a lot of those people that were the ones that were impacted in
Sure.
terms of losing their
Okay.
jobs and things of that
Right.
nature. So now they're having a harder time paying their rent, and then the next time when they're having a harder time paying their rent, the landlords are deciding to raise the rent.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, and unfortunately, for the last 37 years, I work with landlords, and landlords are into one thing. Okay, making money. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, and they don't really care about anything else except bottom line dollar. And they cut every corner to do it. They have really learned from what is it called, the book The Millionaire Next Door. They read that in detail. They live it like a Bible. And also Rich Dad Poor Dad, which Kiyosaki wrote, which we had Sharon Lechter, the co-author, brains behind it, on our show on Media Monday, Mark. We'll probably have to get him back so you can meet with him. But what happens is that when did all this dysfunction take place? It takes place because renting versus owning, you lose always as a renter. Always. It's just a matter of time. It's like a casino game. Sasha will go, it's like a casino game, except ultimately you're the loser. The only question is, when do you lose? Okay.
Right.
Where the owner wins, and the only question is when they win. Do they teach you that in school? No, they don't. Okay. And so what happens is that sooner or later the game catch up with you and you lose. And so the thing is, what we're seeing right now here and across the United States is the renters are taking it on the shaft. Now, one problem is, of course, the downstroke and the high prices of houses. In other words, how do you get in to become an owner as opposed to a renter? Because I look at that, how do you make the down payment even? I mean, it's like in my community, how these people do it? Well, here's how they did it. Most of them I've seen is they didn't do it. They bought in a long time ago. In other words, they bought in when the prices were really low, and then the prices have appreciated a lot. So now they're basically living beyond their means. They don't even know it because they just rode the appreciation up. In other words, they're above their class level, but they just don't even know it. And so what happens though, when you're renting, unfortunately you're at the mercy of either the corporation who owns an apartment complex or an individual landlord who owns that, and you get bounced around. And I do shop the rental market, and I'm going, how do these people pay it? And how with the wages today? I don't get it. You're really working just to pay a landlord. And it really is. I hate to say it is the treadmill to hell that should have been changed all the way back in high school, where the education system should say, and they don't, you need to get out of renting as soon as possible.
This is why I always believe that when people are bashing slavery, it was not so bad economically because slaves, they had a place to live. They didn't worry about rent or buy something, or they didn't need it. So they would do some manual work for
Right.
slave owner, and they were guaranteed food, a place to live, and so on and
Yeah.
on.
Oh, yeah. Well, right now we have what they call economic slavery. It's just a little different.
Now, but
And,
this
and
is
we also
worse.
have indentured servants. Now, I'm hoping, Mark,
Exactly.
Mark,
Well,
I hope you don't have any student loans.
Well,
Okay.
you remember I
Yes,
Because
kept
you went to
I
Mark
still
Pack.
got student loans that I'm still paying off, and I graduated many moons ago and everything.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yes,
Well, see
I've
that,
defaulted on them a couple of times.
that's part of the involuntary servitude that
It is
exists
part
in
of
the
the
United
involuntary
States.
servitude.
Okay.
Another part of it is the plantation mentality, because as y'all were
Sure.
talking, a lot of people go to there's still, and it comes back to what you're talking about
Mhm.
old school mentality and versus entrepreneurship mentality, because there are still quite a few people that go to work for corporate America, and they may even stay and work in corporate
Yeah.
America for a number of years. And in some ways, that's also like going to work at a modern day plantation. So it's a modern day
Right.
plantation, and you can even look at the division of the way that the corporations are structured, because oftentimes
Right.
there might be a certain class of people that are in the higher end jobs, and there might be another
Yeah.
certain class of people that are in the security jobs and in maintenance and in the kitchen staff and another things along those lines. So you can go there and look at them, and you might even say, hey, this is just another version of a plantation.
Yeah, but that's what it is. Okay,
It
in
is.
other words, we're not that far off the plantation, dude. I'm sorry.
No, we're not
The
far
thing
off at
is,
all.
and slavery has just been replaced with economic slavery and
Exactly.
involuntary servitude, which actually existed even in Georgia in the
Mm-hmm.
1600s, 1700s, still exists today. It's called our education system.
Yeah.
But one problem is, I mean, it's just like car payments. I mean, they're horrible. The first thing you want to do is get out of car payments and get out of renting your place and go into ownership, because otherwise you're in unfortunately a treadmill of hell. But the system is so stacked against you, it's very difficult, and you're also not giving instructions on how to actually maneuver your way through that.
No, I agree
So
with you.
yeah,
Definitely no
it's
instructions. And I do have
yeah,
good news for you, though,
but
Nick, and everything, which is that I think we're launching it next week. We have a new show that'll be dealing with renovations of your home, and it may touch on real estate. That's
okay,
the show that
great.
Miss Pinkhammer, Tracy Mebin is bringing to our platform and everything. So
Right.
that's coming. And I'm also negotiating, and you'll be glad to hear this since you and Sasha just brought it up and everything. I'm negotiating with a couple of real estate agents. So hopefully we're going to have a real estate
I mean,
show coming
see,
up in either August or
yeah,
no later than November. So I'm talking to a couple of people in that category. It may be a shared program where we
okay,
have like kind of like the financial show that we've had a couple of times,
right,
where there might be
yeah, right,
shared hosts, but there are some of those things that you wanted coming to the forefront. So I'm bringing them to
right.
the forefront.
And the thing is, I think having that would be really good. Like when I first moved over here, Mark, I didn't go, because years ago when I was young and dumb, I did, and I was making a lot of money. I did buy the big house in the best neighborhood. Okay, then I read the book The Millionaire Next Door and all this other stuff. So it's not what you make or what you spend; it's what you keep. So when I first moved over here, I started going, The Millionaire Next Door is right. So let's go buy a house, but let's not just buy the top of the line, most expensive house. Let's go buy a house that's undervalued. So I didn't find it in Raleigh, Durham. So I went down to Sanford, got a house out of foreclosure. And every time I buy a house out of foreclosure, I make money. Okay. It's just really weird. I actually did buy when I was in Boca, I bought like a $350,000 house out of foreclosure and sold it for $435,000. This one I bought for $94,000. It's a bit of a wreck. Fixed it up and sold it for $178,000. Okay, and I'm going like, you pocket $100,000, buying and selling your house in 5 years. What's wrong with that? Now, let's say I'd rented, because there's always the option to rent. I've rented before too. What happens in those 5 years? I make nothing. I write checks, and at the end of 5 years, I have nothing, and I'm back renting again. So the key is actually, and this is where I'd love to have somebody good in real estate, and it's harder today than it was 5 years ago, is to go find the dog of the Dow, the deal in the area that you can actually execute on. And it may not be in the city they're looking at, maybe outside the city, like what I did. I didn't go to Raleigh, Durham. I went to Sanford and snatched that little sucker up, But do they teach you that in school? No. It's almost like you got to read books like The Millionaire Next Door, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. In school, they teach you nothing about that. You know,
I mean,
so then my
he-
son was doing the same thing. Okay, I was going like, because he bought a house right next door to Durham, and we looked over the financial. I looked over the financials. I said, well, since you're right across from Duke, remember, because you can get hurt in real estate too.
Mhm,
Okay, it's
you
not
can.
like you're always going to make money. I said, chances are, if the real estate prices go down, you're going to be buoyant. Well, you know, he's got 200,000 in unrealized capital gains on one, another 200,000 on another. That's how you build wealth. Did they teach you that in school? No, we had to.
They don't teach you that.
Don't teach you that at all. And
No,
and
I
I'm
mean,
sitting there going, that's a big failure in our system. I'm sorry.
It's so totally
Sorry.
failure. That's why I keep bringing up your
Yeah.
quote, even on several of my interviews about the 21st
Yeah.
century, 18th century. I brought it up to several of our guests and everything.
Sure.
But one of the things I was going to ask, because you brought it up earlier, while there may be 3 Democratic parties, I would actually argue that there are at least 2
There's quite a few.
Republican parties as well. because
Yeah, there are.
definitely
There's
is
the
a
Trump
side.
party and the Republican party.
Right. So there's differentiations there as well. So definitely, I think that there's some divisions even in that side as
Mhm.
well. But one of the things I was curious about, and maybe this is more a question for Sasha, is
Yeah.
and it's actually 2 questions, but I'll go with the first one first, and I might come to the more national one. But I did read recently that and Nick mentioned the Forex, that the Chinese foreign exchange reserves has fallen by 31.5 billion in September from a
Wow.
month earlier. That just came out this past Thursday as capital inflows rose and other currencies in the country's reserve weakened due to the dollar's appreciation. So they're saying that the nation's Forex reserves, the world's largest, stood at 3.200 trillion at the end of September, down from 3.232 trillion at the end of August. So I was just wondering, what kind of impact is those kind of numbers and the US dollar index supposedly rising 1.74% in September going to have on the global economy? Because Nick mentioned the Forex. You are the expert here, at least today, on the economics and everything. What kind of impact is that going to have? Because this was an article in Market Watch that came out earlier today or earlier this morning.
You put a lot of pieces of information all together, and you have to be very, very knowledgeable about many characteristics of each country and its economic policy and economic status. For example, China is the biggest holder of U.S. debt. So if China is sitting on trillions of dollars of US debt, and you're saying that the dollar has appreciated, so the obligations of debt of US to China also must have appreciated in price. So that is a much more prevalent and much more important piece of information than all others. So I think also would be helpful if there is a certain discipline, very little, it's not very popular in US, but very popular in Europe, is something what they call financial and economic history of the world. So you take all the well-known world at the time. Obviously, it was Europe and Asia, because US, Africa, Australia disqualified from that process right away. And then you study all the events, wars, revolutions, doesn't matter what, but only from economic perspective. And what's the means of economy and how it developed, and which forces helped to develop it, and why certain countries became extremely successful, and why. For example, very simple question, if anybody would understand, the first capitalistic system in the world was created in Italy, Florence, Venice, Genoa. But why first capitalistic society did not start in Italy? It started much later in Netherlands, followed by England. Anybody would provide ideas why?
Good question. What's your thoughts on that, Sasha?
I mean, was it tied into
You'll be surprised. Actually, you will be surprised.
I was going to ask Sasha, was it tied into the Vatican at all, and the whole religious aspect of finances as well?
Oh,
I'm just wondering.
no, also Venice and Florence, they were independent from
They were
Vatican.
city-states, yeah.
Completely. They were
Yeah.
city-states, very powerful. They had their own armies, Medici, finances. Everything was great there.
Yeah.
But one element was missing. Remember that at that time, in 15th century, Spain was extremely powerful country.
Mhm.
Right.
And it sent expeditions to discover America later on, so on and on.
Yeah.
But there is one event happened in 1492, which benefited
Spain
Dutch
and Dutch, yeah.
big time,
Right.
and devastated Spain. And that did not happen, unfortunately, in Italy. And Italy remained where it was, but Holland really jumped far ahead of anybody at that time.
Oh, wow.
In 1492 was expulsion of Jews from Spain, and they all went on to Netherlands, and they brought modern finance and most important credit system. Today's credit system was done for centuries by Jews only, simply because Christians were forbidden.
Yeah, because of the usury laws. Right.
So, in Netherlands, people were very adaptive. They learned very, very quickly about the finance, money, credit system.
Right.
And then England, I think it's about Cromwell's time, when the Jews moved also to England, and England became a major benefactor in finance, money, and credit system. And that's where the West won. That's why the West is so powerful. And before the 1492, Europe was nothing. It was dirtiest, horrible, poor place.
Yeah, it was like medieval times.
Yeah, the Arabs, the Muslims, they were much more
better off.
They
Right.
were much richer. Never mind China. China was a giant at that time. And look at what's happened in a few centuries.
Right. Yeah.
So once, if you would learn this in any particular country and how they develop their financial system, money system, then you would really understand the economics of today. Not from newspapers, not from your teachers who know nothing about this.
That's the problem.
So that's the problem.
Right.
But you must have desire to learn and
yeah. You know, the thing is, when you're talking even about like real estate, the difference between like renting and purchasing, let's say if it's equal and it's $500 a month, okay, the landlord can increase your rent and there's nothing you do about it. You just keep paying more and more in rent.
Right.
Okay, your mortgage is a fixed number, 500. Right. It stays there forever. Your real estate appreciates, okay. Your rent, because you don't know anything, doesn't appreciate. So what happens, generally appreciates. Nothing's true, but generally appreciates. So what happens, you end up with a differential over a period of time, almost all the time, Sasha. You know, like investing in stocks. And what happens, what gets me is that when people have the time to learn this, which is actually in high school and middle school, Sasha, they don't teach it. In other words, every day they should be teaching the difference between renting and owning, real estate investing, in other words, how you actually go about investing in real estate. Because I hate to say, I actually look at the real estate. I look at the stock market every day. I also look at the real estate market every day.
Right.
I'm like addicted to it.
The real estate market can be quite fascinating.
It's fascinating, but also the thing is when you look at the prices and you look at the salaries, there's a big mismatch today. In other words, the thing is, no matter what, it's almost like this, no matter what type of job you get and where you work, unless you get a high-tech job at a major company and you have degrees from super universities, okay, it's almost like you can't afford a home in the United States. I'm going like, how do people afford a stupid home or townhouse or condo?
Or if you're lucky, like I said, I was talking, I think it was that same bus driver, and he was telling me that I think that his house, which is actually in a nice neighborhood in Durham, it's actually off of Highway 98, I believe, that he paid at the time he bought it, I want to say, and this was in some of the newer developments around 129, 150, something like that. But
Yeah.
now they are, barking at his door, asking him to sell it because that's a part of Durham that is growing, and he is
Yeah.
holding pat until he gets the deal that he wants. I think that he's probably been
Right.
offered anywhere from like, I think he said that the appreciation that when he looked at it, I think it was closer to like 250 or something
Sure.
like that, and he might
Yeah.
even be holding out to 300 or 400 or something
Right.
along those lines. And I've
Okay,
seen the
and
same
so
thing
the
with
bus
downtown.
driver just cashes in for what? 150,000 to 200,000. Am I missing something, Mark?
No, that's what he would cash in
Right.
for right
Right.
now. Right now, he's
Okay.
holding on to the property
Because
until he gets a better deal.
he made the correct decision years ago. I'm going to
Right.
buy as opposed to rent. Something very simple that they don't teach you in life. I mean,
Right.
and it just drives me nuts. You know,
Nick,
I'm
He
going
made
like,
look,
and to buy in an area that wasn't developed at the time. That
that's
area
right. And you buy in
very
an area
much developed.
that is basically undeveloped. You don't buy
Right.
at the top of the market. You
Right.
buy at something on the fringes somewhere,
Right.
that is affordable. And then you just over a period of years, usually, I mean, today your holding period can only be 5 years. It doesn't have to be 30 years, and then you just hold it for that period of time, and he has all this appreciation, but they don't teach you this in school, and that just drives me nuts. So you can hand people the money, but it doesn't do any good unless it has instructions with it. And one big instruction book is purchasing homes. I mean, it should be a mandatory class, not even it should be required. Forget algebra 1. Forget algebra 1. I already took all that garbage.
There was an interesting article that I had found recently, and I was wondering also. So now I got a legal question to ask Nick, not anything personal, but something about another article. But we've had another crisis that happened several years back, and that was the global financial crisis of 2007, 2009. A lot of that was divisive in terms of socially divisive and things of that nature. Definitely the American Tea Party came out of that. But one of the things that did not happen out of that apparently was the share of global wealth held by the top 1%. It actually fell in 2008. And the pandemic apparently has been different because the number of millionaires rose last year by 5.2 million to over 56 million, according to the Global Wealth Report published by Credit Suisse, which is the bank and everything.
Yeah,
and the 1% increased their share of wealth to 45%, a percentage point higher than in 2019. So I'm wondering, in the midst of all of this craziness, because the pandemic is definitely some craziness and everything, why do both of you think, and it's been reported on a lot of levels, that there is a widening wealth gap? And it might be different groups. Like I said, I know there's definitely a widening
very simple
wealth gap.
answer, Mark. The billionaires have better immune system. That's
That's the answer. They've got a better immune system. Okay.
Yeah. They're able to scale, Mark. One of the things that is very important is the ability to scale today. That makes it easier actually to become a billionaire today than it was 40, 50 years ago even. In other words, you can take a product, whatever it might be. It could be a financial product, like what Peter Thiel did. He created PayPal, and he was able to scale it around the world. And because he's able to take something so simple as payments and get a percentage of tiny little percentage of all the payments that are made, and then push it around the world, he becomes a billionaire. And as more people use his product, he becomes more and more of a billionaire. And it's unrealized. By the way, this is something really important. Unrealized capital gains. Okay. Which means it's wealth that he made, but he did not pay any taxes on. Okay, and this is where the people that have unrealized capital gains understand the tax system are much better than the wage slaves that are out there, which is the vast majority of people. Like if you go to work, Mark, you go to work, here comes paycheck, out comes taxes. Yep. Right? He it doesn't matter if it's Peter Thiel, Jeff Bezos. More people use his system, the value of his company increases, and it could be in the millions, hundreds of thousands to millions, or just like your bus driver made 200,000. They pay zero taxes. It's called unrealized capital gains. It's one of the best ways to accumulate wealth is to try to figure out how you can invest in something that has unrealized capital gains. Like when Sasha goes, hey, go look at NVIDIA stock, one of his little favorites. He buys the stock low, lets it appreciate. Sasha's net worth goes up. Sasha pay no taxes. Sasha's smart. Okay. Sasha said choice number 2. I can go work for a company, get paid a salary. money all goes to taxes. Sasha not stupid. Sasha goes buy Nvidia stock. I mean, you know, and so the thing is, and I don't think Sasha learned it, except he learned it the hard way through the School of Hard Knocks, because obviously they don't teach you that in Russia. And he learned it because he realized playing the piano and playing chess ain't going to get him there. So he went
Actually,
to
very,
the
very interesting. Something I want to add to a real estate question, what Nick you discussed just a while ago. I generally speaking, I don't like real estate. Why?
Right.
Because it's kind of a long game.
It's definitely a long game.
It's a tedious game. You have to provide a lot of some money up front and legal fees and the broker's fees and all that stuff. So you're going right into minus just at the first day of the transaction. You go into minus big time.
Right.
And only then, by perseverance, by staying long enough, and so on, you break even, and then you start making money.
Right.
However, what people are missing about real estate, and what I used it to my advantage a couple of times, is leverage. Leverage in real estate is much greater than in stocks or anywhere else. So if stocks, even if you're using margin power, you still have to put 30% down. In real estate, you can put sometimes 5% down.
Sometimes zero.
In instances, zero. You can buy for zero down. That provides you extremely great leverage. And, you know, when I make first really, let's see, for me at the time, it was big money in stocks. So I wanted to buy a piece of real estate just as allocation of capital purposes or so on. So there was a very promising new development, which I visited with my wife. And they were really very, very solid, good houses to be built, reputable builder. So everything was great about it. So the prices would start, say, from $250,000, and I'm talking about 35 years ago or so. $250,000 to the most expensive house was $420,000. So my wife started to look. I like this design and this model and that model and so on. So I let her speak up her opinion, and then she asked me, "So what do you think we should buy?" And I said this. On each of these houses, never mind 250 to 420, the deposit is $20,000. The same deposit for the cheapest house to the most expensive house.
Wow.
That we are going to buy the most expensive house for $120,000 because all we do, we provide the same $20,000. So with $20,000, you control $420,000 house. You know what is that? At the time, it was a mansion, really.
Yes.
We did this deal, and we sold it about 3 months later, even well before the house was built. But we sold it. And we realized $125,000 profit.
Right. The one thing that I love about real estate, and definitely I think that Nick would probably agree with this, is that it is a great form of what a lot of people call generational wealth. Because I can tell you that my grandparents have several properties in Holliston, North Carolina, which they passed on to their 4 daughters, and that is now being slowly passed down through attrition and life and death and everything down to the next generation. Because I know that already I've had one cousin that has gotten some of that property because both of their parents have passed away and everything. And I know that there's another cousin that I think has some of the property as well because one of their family members has passed away. But definitely, that being said, that's what, and a lot of times people don't think about not just the property, because there were several houses that were on those properties, but there's also the other things that are on the property that are sellable as well, such as timber, because there's a lot of timber out there in addition to some farmland and things along that line. So that's something, that while it may not be directly in my hands right now, I know that it is down the line, an asset that I have access to. Like Sasha said, it's a long game, so it's something that's not going to happen immediately. It's not something that I'm not trying to happen anytime soon, because I'm personally rooting for my parents to live well into their hundreds and well into whatever else they can do in that regards, as long as they are healthy and doing and able to live a a good life and everything
Right.
of that nature, and
Yeah.
definitely don't want them like being decrepit and sitting there going like to the point of not being able to be in society in a positive way, if that makes any sense. So,
You
Yeah,
know,
but
Nick, speaking about real estate, I'm surprised why there is no proliferation of a trailers park in.
oh man, trailer parks are very profitable,
Yes,
Sasha.
they
Yeah,
can be.
When I started
exactly.
down in
Yes.
I started my practice in Fort Myers, Florida, and
Yes.
some of the people that came in that were multimillionaires back then, which was a lot today, obviously. But so what do? I own a trailer park. I'm going like,
Mhm.
what? Okay, and then then I figured out how the operation works. And talk about a scam against poor people. This is the
Mhm.
biggest scam in the world. The all the trailers are basically rental units. They own the
Okay.
underlying lot, the land. So
Right.
what happens is you put a cheap home on there, okay, and they pay the landlord, which was my
Mhm.
client, to rent the land. The land rents were out of control. I mean, they were like unbelievably expensive how much they got for those lots. I was going to, oh, no wonder why you're a multimillionaire. Oh yeah, this trailer park's doing really well, and see what they did. All it is a huge piece of land. Let's say you bought a couple acres, okay, and you could turn it into a trailer park. It is one of the biggest money makers for the owners that, and in Florida. In Florida today, there are over 1 million people that live in mobile homes and trailers.
Yep.
And part of it is because from their standpoint, they go, gosh, the house is cheap, but they never factor in for some reason the land rental, which is pretty expensive.
The
And
other
they live in these trailer parks. I'm just
but
going like,
The other advantage that trailer park folks sometimes like is the mobility, because you can definitely move that
yeah,
trailer.
yeah. And today some of them have a lot of amenities, Mark. I mean, the
Right.
thing
I
is, they're
know.
pretty nice places to live. I mean, it's pretty popular, more so in Florida. I don't see them here, but there was a lady, like, that was a member of our church down the street. And I went, she was living in a trailer. I said, well, how much are you paying? She's paying like $1,000 a month for a trailer. I'm going, what?
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean the
I was going,
amenities.
what?
Yeah.
There was no amenities. It was like one next to the next to the next. I mean,
Right.
it was, frankly, it was horrible. But the real problem is, again, the education, the choices, and have you shopped around, okay, for the best deal? No one thinks about, hey, maybe you should shop this. You're really getting a pretty horrible deal. And so instead, what she did, well, I like living here. And so she brought another person in to help rent the place. I'm going like, yeah, but where was
Well,
the
I mean,
education behind it? Where was the thought? There wasn't any.
there wasn't any thought, but some of these people have developed some great plans. I know, like even the house that we used to own, me and my brother and everything, when mom sold that, the people that bought it turned it into a duplex because it was near
Yeah,
Central's campus. And
sure.
I've seen
It's
that
good.
be a great investment as well, to
It's
get out.
always good to be a real estate owner. Okay,
Right.
it's almost always good to be a real estate owner. Almost always
It's
bad
a
to be a real estate renter. Okay, I
no
mean that's
doubt, no
kind of
doubt
like the
about that.
rules.
Hey, Nick, just really quickly, I know we're getting ready to wind down. The question I was going to ask you, because it came up in the Supreme Court, is a lot of times people are thinking about their constitutional rights and things of that nature, and everybody thinks that they have a right to sue. But apparently, that's not always the case if you're
Sure.
going to sue a public official, particularly a police officer. And apparently,
Yeah.
that has to do with qualified
Right.
immunity.
Qualified
And
immunity.
apparently, that just came down in the Supreme Court. And I think the Supreme Court has basically sidestepped the issue this time around. So I was just wondering your thoughts about qualified immunity, as you are part of the great show that we have about
Sure.
lawyers here on
Yeah.
the network. So I
Well,
don't
yeah.
know if y'all have
Lawyers.
touched that
Well,
topic or not, but I did see that it was on the Supreme Court docket.
yeah. Well, see, one of the big things is standing. Okay, in other words, do you have the standing to sue? So let's say you see somebody's doing something wrong, I'm going to sue. Well, you may not have standing. They call it standing. In other words, you're not really a party to it, so they throw you out. Qualified immunity is another one to sue that throws you out. Another thing that's very interesting, and hopefully they'll discuss it on Lawyers Den. Everybody thinks because they watch too much TV that there's going to be a jury trial. In
Right.
civil law, which I work in predominantly more so than criminal, you never see a jury. Less than 7% and less than 5% will be seen by a jury. In other words, what happens, it's what they call a bench trial. The judge can make a decision based on all the facts before them, and you'll never see a jury. So there's a lot of things going on in the legal area that people aren't aware of. We talked yesterday about the Chevron doctrine. It should be taught in every high school.
Yeah.
Yet no one teaches it, mainly because you could say some of the stuff, Sasha, Mark, is boring. investing, there's two ways once you make money, what you're going to do. You're going to invest in the stock market or real estate. It's not like anything else. Are you going to put your money in stocks, real estate, or the third part, which most people choose, they're going to consume it and blow it. But those are the two real investment choices. Well, the Chevron doctrine works real simple in the United States, and it's not taught in high school. If you, Mark, go against a government official and there's a reasonable interpretation on the law, you lose. That's it. In other words, there's no third party. The bureaucrat gets to make the decision. So, and there's a lot of stuff in the legal area that could really be taught at the high school level, the middle school level. They don't do it. But even before I would even teach law, I would teach the investing, real estate investing, stock market investing. And forget Algebra 1. I took Algebra 1, what a waste. I took Algebra 2, waste again. Geometry, I took that, waste. Calculus, another waste. If you want to become an engineer, sure, they're important. But why are they required? It's a complete bloody waste. English 1, 2, 3, waste. Teach what Sasha teaches, what Bill Danko teaches. Then you're going to be at least the worst case scenario. You may not be able to speak English very well, but you're going to be well off financially.
Well, we did have the Augustine Project again yesterday on the online dinner party, and they're actually teaching people the basic skills of reading. So they're actually doing that right here because there are a lot of people that don't know how to read. And we did bring up how important reading it was, even to understanding the Bill of Rights and understanding stocks and a number of other things. And they did agree because they try to do a very well-rounded way of educating, including educating.
First thing we should learn how to read is stock market tickers.
Yeah, they might even agree with you on that because I definitely brought up the 21st century, 18th century analogy, and they agreed along those lines. By the way, apparently Justice Sonia Sotomayor is not too happy with the order that was released Monday because they refused to hear the plea from a family of a man killed by a police officer, and apparently this man had some mental issues going on as well, and that's part of what was going on because they said that the cops killed the man who was suicidal and they got qualified immunity. But apparently Justice Sotomayor wasn't happy about it, and there might have been some other people, but they did decide not to take it.
Can you send me that case, because that may be something, we're always looking for hot topics for Lawyers Den. Qualified immunity is something we did discuss, but if you can forward that to me, that would be something that or Bill Trusvant, that's something we'd certainly put on the docket, because we discussed it once before, but Supreme Court's going into term now, so any topic like that is pretty hot.
I would definitely do that.
Something, Martha, what you just said, that there is so much garbage on the internet, social media, and everything else. So inability to read may in fact be an advantage. Because if you're unable to read, you will not read. So
you won't. Well, the thing is, I know we're running out of time, but the thing is, this whole thing, and we're going to talk about on Media Monday, Mark. I hope you're going to be there. But the thing is, the thing with Instagram, okay, which I don't even watch Instagram. But the complaint was, well, girls get on Instagram and they don't like the bodies they see because they're better than their bodies. I'm going, well, this is real simple. Don't go on Instagram.
Yeah, it's called body shaming.
Well, yeah, I know. But the thing is, wait, it's real simple. There's the simple solution is usually the best, called Occam's razor. Okay, the simple solution is the one I do only because I don't know how to get on it. Just don't go on Instagram. Yet they made it out like there's some major media made it out to be something huge and bad. Why every day they put on people blowing people's heads off on national TV, with their stupid programming. So I'm going like, how they have no moral authority to discuss how social media is behaving, modern media. But
no, they have no.
It's like, oh, how terrible that Mark Zuckerberg, who owns Instagram, will allow girls to get on and be shamed by their bodies when they don't have to get on. Oh, by the way, tonight we're going to have 5 people heads blown off on our TV show. Make sure you stay tuned to the FBI or NCIS. Ding. Come on. And so Media Monday, we're going to discuss the defense of Facebook. Even though they blocked me again. I tried to share this.
They still are blocking right now on the YouTube channel, so YouTube is still mad at us as well. But I did go to one of the other ones. It wasn't mine this time.
You have a new show? I saw it on LinkedIn. You have a new show that came on. What's her name that was on last night?
Oh, that was like a special event that I did, and I'm trying to get her to do a children's show. But yes, I
Oh.
did bring her on, and she's interested in doing some children's programming.
Okay.
She's actually my guest on the online dinner party. That being Bessie Minks, who is actually originally from Bulgaria but lives in Chicago now. But her family
Right.
is Bulgarian descent, so she is
Yeah.
looking very much at doing a children's program for us, and she is, as she calls herself, the neighborhood songwriter. So she
Really?
does
Yeah.
a lot of songwriting out of Chicago, and is an amazing young lady. So I think that we will be able to get that one as well. So that was just
Yeah.
kind of a test run, and I think that folks will thoroughly enjoy what she is all about and everything along those lines. And by the way, I got to play the puppet role. I had all of two
You did.
sentences, but I did have my little 2 sentences that was at the end of the play, and it got a lot of good reviews. My part was all right, but the whole production got a lot of good reviews, and they may be bringing us back for other performances on Clubhouse and places like that. So definitely looking to always find some programs to bring here as well, since you gave me that responsibility of being like a scout
recruit.
for the
Yeah.
network. So continue to do that. Continue
Add more programs.
adding more programs, trying to find as much more as I can of a diversity of sorts. So glad to do that. Got to find another person maybe that can come on and handle Sasha in a chess match, even though I don't think that I can find those kind of people. He's too good and he's too much of a master. So I don't think I can find somebody that can handle him. So we'll just let him go ahead and beat up on people all the time on his show, because he is the true master of chess. And I'm glad to call him a friend as well.
And he's got some great players. I mean, he had Joel Benjamin last time, which by the way,
very good. Impressed.
Joel is actually really good on television. He probably doesn't even know that, and his explanations were really good. The guy is just really good. He's really solid, and the way he was describing everything was perfect.
Actually, Jim Ide invited me on his program tomorrow.
Really? Who's going to be on besides him?
Democratic chess. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah. And on Saturday it will be experimental show. It will be. Remember, we had a contest where Shirov played against Donchenko.
Yeah,
and
right.
In that game, Shirov did absolutely fantastic move.
I know Shirov killed him.
H7 that nobody could guess.
Yeah.
So we will rerun that. Although we played a little bit with the original source, and we cut certain parts to make it a little bit fit into 60 minutes format. So we'll have it this summer.
What about a Shirov Benjamin match? Well, that would be pretty cool, because Shirov comes from the Eastern Europe. But
yeah, Shirov Benjamin. Yeah, I'll talk to Benjamin.
And Benjamin, when I was playing, he was like the U.S. champion and the World Open champion.
He was 3 times U.S. champion.
Yeah, I mean the guy was really strong. So those two players are big name players in the chess community.
And don't forget that both of them are chess writers as well, especially Joe.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Joe wrote quite a few high quality books. Yeah. Really, I think he's now, well, because of his age, perhaps he's now presents himself more as a chess author than Grandmaster.
Well, back then that was the only way you could make money. Playing hardcore tournament chess was hard, and so the way to do it is to actually write books. Today, if you see on Twitch, like Herku and that young lady, the young attractive lady, they're on Twitch all the
time. But sisters.
Yeah, she's on Twitch all the time, getting millions of views. I'm going like,
no. You know that she's actually from Canada, and
right.
She played in Norway Olympiad. She was playing for Canadian team, and it was the last Olympiad where Nava played for Canadian.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. So we met and we spent time together. So she's a very nice person. But I wish she and her sister wouldn't play chess and just have a talk show or something like that.
I'm gonna have to find out, Sasha. I'm gonna have to find out. But I found out that 2 of the leading matchmakers, like if you go to those matchmaking sites and everything, but it was on Clubhouse and everything. 2 of the leading matchmakers are women out of Toronto, Canada. So I don't know what's going on over there in Toronto, but y'all have got 2 of the leading matchmaking people that do that whole matchmaking business, and that's Carmeletta and Laura Bellotti, who is both out of Toronto, and she actually runs Single in the City is the name of her clubhouse and everything. But definitely they are leading folks, and I was shocked that they were right there in Toronto. So apparently there are a lot of single women there in Toronto, and they are the ones that are finding them their significant others or trying to matchmake them and all of that. But I've discovered both of them. I actually was hearing one of them on Clubhouse earlier today. So they are finding all kinds of avenues, and apparently they're doing that. But you don't have to worry about that because you've got that lovely wife of yours and everything. But I was pleased to see that they were both out of the Toronto area and doing some great things in that field as well. And I'm trying to talk them into possibly getting a show here as well. So definitely that might be something.
The show I saw last night on LinkedIn is called The Robin Joy Show.
Oh yes, that is a new one as well, and that
Right.
is a conversational one. I was trying to remember which of the new ones you were talking about,
Right.
but yes, Robin Joy has actually had a very moving segment last week about grief because she just recently lost a brother. But this one
Mhm.
was about nonprofits and how
Right.
they
Yeah,
were
it was about
cooperating
nonprofit.
because she dealt with nonprofits. But she's also had conversations around like the battle of the sexes because she is
Sure.
a single woman. So she had like men on one episode talking about what they were going through, and then the following week she had the women talking. I might have the order in reverse
Is
order.
Robin Joy local, or where does
She
she
is
live?
local. She's here
Oh,
in
really?
the
So we
Durham
could
area.
actually get together, like
Yes.
yeah, because see, Barbara had to come in from Virginia, but
No,
you
no,
know,
Rob.
some of them are more local than we could get together sometime. But yeah,
Speaking
I
of which,
guess-
Coco will have a guest this evening. Melissa Wade is a
Okay.
gospel DJ, but also a playwright. So she will be
Oh.
on this evening on that show. So that should be an amazing conversation that she's going to have coming to the network at 6 o'clock. So looking forward to that conversation. And she'll be having that person along with a couple of
Right.
the other, I think some of the actors and maybe even one of the other directors will be on as well. I think it's like 2 or 3 that she's bringing.
Right. Okay. Good. Yeah. Coco is famous. I checked her Wikipedia page
Right.
out. I mean, something I told my wife about her thing in Casablanca. I said, well, if she does happen to go out, that's on my list to go to. I've never been to Casablanca. Maybe Sasha, because he played a lot of chess. Have you ever been to Casablanca or any of those places?
Not in Casablanca, no.
Really? Okay. Yeah, it's on the list because they have obviously the movie Casablanca.
Right.
Yeah.
It's in Morocco. So
Yeah.
got it.
Morocco's definitely been on my list of places to visit along with Egypt. So definitely that
Yeah.
might be. And Coco is part owner along with the lady that was a guest of hers of that club. So if they don't sell
Right.
it,
That's
then
what
we
I'm saying.
might have a place to go and hang out and get our drinks and food at. But I do know that they've been possibly looking at, it's like any other business. We're just talking about real estate. They might,
Yeah, right. It's a business. Yeah. But I'm just shocked because it's so hard to manage something like a restaurant business across the pond. I mean, that's like, whoa. But she has a business partner over there, so
Right.
that's quite possible. And that's the third way that we should have a show on. Owning your own business, how you make
Yes.
money owning your own business. Okay, they don't teach you that in school. And I remember even at the MBA program, I went to University of South Florida, did a whole study on making money in your own business, and my professors were shocked. They go, "Aren't you just going to go work for like Ford or General Motors?" No, in other words, the mentality of them was go to work for a big company, and not about owning your own company. It was actually about a guy who owned a Shell dealership,
Wow.
who's making hundreds of thousands, not Shell dealership, just a Shell gas station.
Right.
And the
Just
guy
a
was,
gas station.
and back then they actually did maintenance on it. The guy was making a bloody fortune, by just owning a gas station with where they did maintenance on. So I did a whole study on that, making a lot more than if you go work as some corporate executive.
No,
But
that's very true.
it's so downplayed, the small businesses, at least in the MBA schools. Everybody's got to go work for Cisco Systems.
Yeah, they
not
want you to go
realizing-
work for a major corporation, and that's
Exactly.
not the answer at all. We know that entrepreneurship is probably the better way to go and everything. Hey, Sasha, one of the things that, and actually the main show will air in about an hour, a little bit less than an hour, but one of the things that has happened on the network is that shows have created 2 shows. So we have the late night version of the Gamers Den, which actually aired last
Oh, really?
night,
I saw
and
that
the regular
too.
edition
That
of
is a
the
late
Gamers
night
Den.
version. Then?
So can we have a late night edition of Chess Stars? Can we have like a 11 or
Late
12
night
o'clock
edition.
edition of Chess Stars as well?
I don't see any reason why earlier edition could not be repeated in the evening hours.
Yeah, you could just do you just
That's true too.
Easiest way.
But I did see the Gamers Den, so it was live. I was going, wait a minute, how can that be live? It was, and that was on LinkedIn, also or Facebook. I saw
It was on. I think he had it on Facebook and Twitch.
Really? Yeah.
I think that's
Okay,
what he had it.
and I was going, what's going on here? So actually, we have 2 Gamers Den. We have the
Right.
daily the late night version is a great idea because most of the gamers are late night people.
Right, and
Yeah.
a lot of them live in other parts of the world, right?
And they
So
live in
it's
other
like-
parts of the world. But when I had my company, like I said, I had 10,000 square feet. I'll send you the building I had back years ago. Made the mistake. I rented the building, not owned it. In any event, it was an office building. And what we did is the gamers wanted to play, and I had these huge conference rooms. I said, well, just, because a lot of the people that worked for me, they were students and stuff. And I said, yeah, just go ahead and take the conference room. And what they did is they set up all these video games. And they played a local area network, I don't know, some party, some video game parties. And this was, it was kind of an amazing phenomenon. But that's also how they learned how to work on computers, because they handled all my IT stuff. So I thought it was pretty cool. But unfortunately, I'm yours truly. I played chess. I didn't do video games.
Did not pick up the skill.
Stuff.
Did not make the money in that.
It was past my time. Like I said, I was doing Pong, Dink, or
Pong's a
Zero video
classic game.
when I was a kid. So I didn't really play much video games. They didn't exist, so I played chess. What can I tell you?
Chess is a great game, and definitely.
Well, chess had a resurgence because that Queen's Gambit thing and it was so great when she walks in. The first thing they ask, "What's your rating?" I'm unrated. Well, then you should play in the B section. What's the top prize? $20. What about the open section? It's 100. She goes, I want to play in the open section. You're going to get kicked because there's 1,800 players there. They're going to kick your tail. And one expert's going to show up. You're in deep trouble. I want to play in that anyway. I go, well, you may not should be here. Why not? There's no women's division. I was all on the Queen's Gambit. And anybody who's played tournament chess, Mark, that's exactly how the conversation goes.
Yeah.
If you're entering a tournament for the first
There
time.
is another great chess movie is coming out next year about the Swag chess novel. And it will be a very detailed equalization. I think it will be done in Germany. And I think it is a German movie.
Yeah.
But it will have translation in English. I forgot the name of it. Probably the chess novel.
Yeah. Well, the Queen's Gambit was very well done because
yes, very good.
Unfortunately, you can see Pandolfini and Kasparov's influence on that because it was done really how it actually is, how tough it really is. To play hardcore tournament chess and try to scratch out a buck.
Yeah, very difficult to improve on
I know we're going to get off out here, but one thing I was going to mention to you, Nick, really quickly is, and Sasha will be glad to hear this. I wish Akil was here. When I was in Clubhouse yesterday, there was a woman, Polka. She's actually, I think, Peruvian, but she is a well-known erotic poet, and actually, I'm trying to get her to bring some of that kind of mess to us as well. But that would have to be very late night because she does go.
Yeah, we have to have
deep.
our late night program.
Yeah, we have to have our late night programming,
poetry.
and I'm actually also talking to a lady that is a coach in that space as well. So actually, I need to call Miss Carmen and make sure that she's still on board for doing that. But what Shaquille would have found interesting is that Polka was very adamantly upset with our school system because apparently she had gone into the schools and had heard a lot of people that were very adamantly wanting to teach certain kinds of behaviors in terms of sexuality within the school. And while she may be very erotic, she was not necessarily wanting to hear that presented to her. I'm not even sure if there's her kids or her grandkids, but the people that were in the 4th and 5th grade. So she was feeling that some of the curriculum might be taught too early. Speaking of curriculum.
Again, why aren't they teaching investing in stocks and why aren't they teaching investing in real estate?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
That would be better than teaching about the different orientations and things of that nature. Not saying
you're not going to make
important
any
to know
money.
those things, but
I hate to say it, sexual orientation isn't going to make your life any better, But if you have $1 million in stocks, I can guarantee it will.
yeah,
What
that
am I supposed to say?
is very true. I just said, like I said,
Mark, they did a study. The real, like I said, I repeat this study over again. People that make 500, the happiness study, it increases the more income you have. Once you make more than $500,000 a year, everybody was happy. It made more than $500,000 a year, and I'm going like, have they thought of that? That if you want to increase somebody's happiness, increase your income and your net worth. Why don't they teach that? No, we're going to teach gender studies. Wonderful. But you're not going to get rich. You're not going to be happy. Okay. And it doesn't matter what you assign yourself. It's irrelevant. So teach stocks, teach real estate first. Then I'll give a rat's for what else you learn.
No,
You know?
you can throw in a gender study for free if you learn real estate and stuff.
And
You can
teach
throw it.
owning your own business, because the thing is, if you don't work out in corporate America, own your own bloody business. That's what I had to do. I've been unemployed for 37 years because the real story, I could only make $8.50 an hour as a law clerk when I graduated. And that's if I could get a job. And I had to beg for the job. Oh, please give me $8.50 an hour. I started out first week and I said, I'm just going to open my own practice. This is garbage. I made $3,650 the first week. I'm going, that's better than $8.50 an hour.
Much
You know?
better.
So
Much better.
owning your own business, they should also teach that too as well.
Yep, and that's kind of what
Very
Cope's
close.
argument was, that you didn't need to necessarily teach gender studies that early in age, like around whatever fourth grade is. That would be like
fourth grade. If they could teach that, they could teach investing in the stock market or investing in real estate.
Precisely.
I think it's easier than
but
gender
very
studies.
few people are really interested in stocks and real estate.
Too bad.
The
That's the reason it's a perfect time. You're a kid. It's
Exactly.
a perfect time. We don't give a rat's rear what they're interested in. You're going to feed them stuff anyway, Sasha. See, if you wait till you're older, then you have too many choices. You go, gosh, I graduated from high school. I'm not going to learn about stocks. You know, forget it. But when you're a tiny little kid, you don't have a choice. Here's what you're going to learn. Oh, I guess I'm going to learn about the stock market. And remember, they did this in chess too. They go, years ago, Sasha, they're going, oh, little kids can't learn chess. That's what they told me. So I learned in high school. Okay, today, what's the fastest growing group of kids that play chess? Elementary school kids. So you don't tell me they can't learn this stuff. They can. The teachers don't know it. But the kids, if you elementary school chess is huge in this country because the kids can learn how to play chess.
Millions of people play.
Millions of them play. Okay,
Yeah.
If they can learn chess, they could certainly learn the basics of investing in the stock market and real estate. So.
It leads very naturally one to another. Now, where comes sexual studies and gender studies?
I don't really care after that.
Hey,
look, if you're making $500,000 a year, or you're like, what's that, Bruce Jenner, Kylie Jenner, then what difference does it make? You know, but the thing is, but if you're broke, then it makes a big difference.
Makes a real big difference. Well, let me get ready to get us a little intro, outro music and get us on out of here. Right. Great conversation as always. And I think tomorrow when we're back, Steve will be back and he'll be coming at us from PBS Carolina. So that should be great, coming at us from PBS Carolina. So we'll see y'all next time around.
Bingo. Thanks, Mark.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ooh.